Simon Scott, today I'm going to talk to you about pellets. I'm a massive fan of pellets, use them a hell of a lot inside PVA bags. I want to get your take on it really.
Okay.
You obviously, coming from a fish nutritionist background, will know a lot more about pellets than I do and their applications. So,
Okay, well certainly let's talk a bit about pellets. First of all, there are a lot of pellets out on the market. I know the guys that watch this, it's quite easy to get confused because there are carp pellets,
yes,
and there are coarse fish pellets, and there are trout pellets, and salmon pellets, and halibut pellets. And I actually spoke to one guy on the bank that said, "Oh, halibut pellets, they're made out of halibut, aren't they?" That isn't the case. The halibut pellet is designed for the halibut, a salmon pellet is designed for a salmon, and a trout pellet for a trout, and a coarse fish or a carp pellet is designed for a coarse fish or a carp. So there are different specifications in those diets. And what's interesting is if you take something like a halibut pellet, it's a really high spec diet. Nutritionally, it's way in excess of what a carp would need. So it'd be like me eating fantastic 3-course meals, cooked breakfast every day. It's quite rich, but in a fishing situation, they're very, very attractive because the carp will find the food that it knows represents the most calorific intake. So they're very rich halibut pellets and salmon pellets as well, but you don't want the carp to eat nothing but those. But so it can be a bit confusing in the shop, you know, because you're all these different pellets. And what we've got here is your combination pellets that you sell in Hinders, and I'd be a great fan of these because rather than coming in and being a bit confused, if you use these, the worry's been done for you. Yes. Yeah. Now, I like to mix the pellet sizes up, and there is a good reason for that. Is when I'm fishing, if I put a few pellets in the edge, and they're all the same size, then it's very obvious which one has got a size 6 white gape attached to it. So what I like to try and do is mix it up so that you've got little tiny pellets, and your mini combo is perfect there. You'll see these pellets, they're tiny, Kev, and they fall down in amongst the stones on the bottom of the fishery.
Yeah, so
and it becomes difficult for the fish to root them out. And as you can see from this lovely mixture of pellets, there's all sorts of different pellets in there as well. So you've got different breakdown times, different smells, different tastes.
They all leak off the traction at different
Absolutely.
rates.
So a little bit of that, and then mix it up with the old the standard pellet combo, and you've got the same thing there. There's a mixture of different diets there. So you've got within this mix carp pellets, salmon, trout, and halibut pellets.
You've got the best of all worlds, really.
Yeah, so there's loads of lovely smells. But for example, the coarse diet in here, that we're going to go softer quicker, and that'll give off more smell earlier on in the swim. So you're getting that variety becomes is really dynamic on the bottom of the lake, and it keeps the fish picking about for hours. And when you've got a pellet mix like that, you could say, well, I'm going to use maybe a little 10mm pop up over the top of that, a little brown pop up that almost blends with the mixture on the bottom.
Okay, so what would be your favourite hook bait to fish over the top of it? Have you got a specific favourite?
If I'm fishing a short session, I might use a little drilled pellet. So a halibut pellet, for example, you can buy those that have been drilled out. One of those over the top, brilliant, because it smells and tastes exactly the same as what's on the bottom.
So you just want to mimic the items that you're putting in.
However, if I was putting it out for a bit longer, then I might be concerned because roach and rudd and bream and tench will all come and pick at this, and so I might maybe pick a boilie that was like a 10mm boilie or a cut down boilie.
Because the pellets naturally break down over time.
Yeah, and they soften.
They absorb the water.
And it may only be in my own head, but when you reel in and the bait's gone,
yes,
your confidence is gone in that product, and
you
think,
don't know if it's come off when you've been winding it in.
Was it when I reeled it in, skipped it across the surface that it fell off? Or did it fall off 2 or 3 hours ago and have I been fishing with no hook bait?
Which is the last thing you want.
No, and it's not good for confidence. So if I was, just do a couple of hours on a spot, a drilled halibut pellet, fantastic, over a little handful of this. However, if it was going to be for a night or a PVA bag, solid bags, which I know you're a great fan of, I might change my approach slightly then and maybe put a little boilie on. I know a lot of guys have done very well fishing a little white pop-up over a patch of pellet.
So complete contrast then, make something stand out.
So going back a few years, but Broadlands down near Romsey in Hampshire, great fishery, and that was the standard. PVA bag full of pellets with a white pop-up, bang it out there and you would get a bite. And I guess the white pop-up, it was deadly and the fish would go, oh, there's one. But I would say try that, but also be aware that once fish have been caught in that a lot, they'll be looking at that white pop-up thinking there's trouble and they'll avoid it. So ring the changes. Fish one rod on a drilled on a drilled pellet, and fish one rod maybe on a little white pop-up if you're going to try solid bags. But
okay. Like you said, I'd like to use pellets in a solid bag. Do you use it in spod mixes as well? Or do you just use it in solid bags?
It depends on the fishery because it's really interesting. Some fisheries don't do well on pellets. But if
Right.
you've got a water that tries them, then put it in your spod mix it up, yeah. And you know, a few handfuls of this creates an enormous smell in the lake, so you're drawing fish into the swim.
Yeah, I'm guessing a lot of fish are reared on pellets as well.
That's right. As a fish farmer, I run a business with Viv Shears called VS Fisheries, which we've talked about. At that farm, we feed pellets. We feed coarse diets, so it's not a halibut pellet or a salmon or trout pellet. We feed a coarse fish diet or a carp diet. But the fish are seeing a lot of pellet in their life.
Yeah, so they sort of reared on it,
Yeah,
and grown
exactly.
up on it, so they recognise it as a food
They
source.
recognise it instantly as a food source, and even just 1 or 2 pellets dropped in front of a swimming fish, often the pecks will go out, brakes on, wow, that smells good, and they'll go to the bottom looking for food. So it's a brilliant bait, and definitely one to have in your armoury. And a bit like I would have mentioned weeks and weeks back on the tiger nuts. Having a bag like that in the back of the car, as long as you keep it cool and out the sunshine, will last a long time.
Yeah, I mean pellets don't go off, do they?
Well, they do a little. It's important to point out, Kev, at this point that they have a shelf life to them. So when you buy pellets, you should use them responsibly. So I would suggest if you buy a bag of pellet like that, you should use it within a few months. But most of us give up fishing in the winter because it's rubbish.
Yeah.
So buy a bag and use them through the summer. But you don't want to keep them for years and years because the manufacturers that make these pellets, they have vitamins put in them to make it a complete diet for the fish, and those vitamins and the oils tend to go off with long time. Brilliant bait. It does store well in the back of the car, but not for 2 or 3 years.
Okay, that's excellent. So I've learned something new there.
Good,
good. I guess your top tip is to mix it up a little bit.
Yeah, be prepared to mix it up, and these bags that you do are fantastic. It's done for you. You don't have to buy 10 different bags then.
Keep the fish guessing and try different hook baits over the top.
Exactly.
Here we go. £29 2-ounce mirror, lovely and fat. Caught on a solid bag on Manor Farm Lake at the Linear Complex.